Hello everyone, this is Starry Ari's ASMR. I am Ari, and today I have a fun sort of day in my life vlog type of video. Now I love videos like this because I think that I am very nosy and I like to see what other people do in their kind of typical days. And I am not the best at vlogging and I kept forgetting to record certain things. So full disclosure, a couple of these clips might be from a different day. But I combined them all as if it was one day because I do feel like it's pretty representative of a typical day in my life. My day usually starts with getting my dog Edna up for her walk. So I usually have to wake up a little bit earlier than my husband, so it just kind of makes sense that I tend to do her morning routine and then he usually does her night routine. So here she is in her crate. She's always very excited. She always gets a treat in the morning. So she has hypothyroidism, so she gets a medication twice a day. So she gets one as soon as she wakes up. And then we just get ready for her walk. I have also done a silly little day in the life of my dog video. So if you're interested, you could go watch that too. It was a little bit rainy this morning, so I did put her in her rain jacket, which thankfully she does not mind wearing it at all. It's like she just doesn't even really notice that it's on. And then I did have to dry her off a little bit, which she's usually pretty okay about. I mean, sometimes she gets a little bit sassy, but for the most part, she does pretty okay. And then Edna does have to wait an hour between getting her thyroid medication and being able to eat breakfast. So usually by the time we go on her walk and I get myself breakfast, usually it's right about time for her to have her breakfast. So I start up my breakfast with our electric kettle, and I love our electric kettle. It is just so convenient. I feel like it's not incredibly common in the US. And I usually have some Earl Grey tea in the morning. And I struggled with the wrapper. I also filmed these clips early in June, so it's been a little while since I recorded them, and I just hadn't had the time to kind of put them together and put together a voiceover, but I'm doing it now. And then I do like to have a tea with a couple of sugar cubes and a splash of milk. Maybe more than a splash of milk. And I give that a nice good stir, and you can see I like it pretty milky. And then for breakfast, I usually like to just do one of my meals that I prepped. So this one is a yogurt parfait, which is really good. I have some frozen strawberries and blueberries in here, and some granola on top. It's really delicious. I love a good yogurt parfait. It's one of my favorite breakfasts. And so usually I sit down and eat my breakfast, and Edna's usually already laying on her bed, but sometimes she does get a little bit antsy because she is hungry, but she just unfortunately has to wait. Typically while I have my breakfast, I usually like to read a little bit, and at this time I was reading Annihilation, and I've already finished this book at this point by the time I'm doing my voiceover, but I thought it was a really interesting book, and I am definitely gonna get, it's an original like trilogy, so I am gonna get the other two in the series. And then after my breakfast, it was time for Edna's breakfast. And we also hadn't vacuumed the day before, so our carpet was still very, very messy with all of Edna's fur. And then it is time for me to go and get ready for the day. So here's all of my makeup that I usually use. I have a couple of acrylic drawers and then a little organizer that hangs on my mirror. I'm going to put on a little headband, and I like to use the CeraVe moisturizing lotion and these e.l.f. Thirst Burst drops, about one pump. my primer, I'm using this e.l.f. Poreless Putty Primer. And just get a little bit of that on my finger, and then I can spread that around on my face. And then right now I'm trying to really make an effort to use up some of my makeup. So right now I'm trying to finish this Perlice BB cream, and I cut off the top of the tube so that I could use my makeup spatula to reach in. It's like I could just throw this away, but I feel like there's so much product still in there that I'm somebody that I want to get every last drop if I can. And then I am using this Maybelline Age Rewind for my concealer. Taking this brush just to blend that out. Next, I do like to use a little bit of powder. I don't use too much just because I do have quite dry skin, but I do crease in some areas, so I do like to put a little bit of powder maybe around my nose and in my smile lines, and a little bit right in between kind of my eyebrows. And then I feel like that's kind of everything I do for powder. And next I like to do my contour, and I use this LA Girl blush, but it's like the perfect contour shade for me. Usually for my workday makeup I do pretty simple makeup, so I just did that as a wash of color on my eyes. Then I'm going to use this Physicians Formula bronzer and this blush from Pacifica. I really like how pretty and glowy it is. And then I am going to do a little bit more to my eyes. So here is my magnetic palette from Shop Miss A. I'm taking this darker brown color and just putting it along my top and bottom lash line. And I'm going to use a little bit of this Ofra highlighter. And then once my eyes are done, I'm going to take my mascara, and I use this L'Oreal Lash Paradise mascara. And for my brows, I'm using this e.l.f. brow pencil. And finally, I'm going to finish it off with this NYX Dewy Finish setting spray. And then for my hair, usually I might curl it a little bit, but most of the time I just kind of leave it natural. I usually don't fuss about my hair too much. And next I need to get my clothes ready. So today I'm gonna wear this short sleeve black turtleneck that makes me feel like Steve Jobs, but I think it's cute on me. I usually wear it with my hair up in a ponytail, and it was pretty linty, so I wanted to take my lint roller to it and just try and get a little bit of the dog fur and random pieces of lint off as much as I could. I feel like this shirt just kind of attracts any tiny little bit of lint. And then for my pants, I'm just wearing leggings because I do work from home, so nobody really sees my pants, so I just kind of wear whatever is comfortable for me that day. Today I'm going to do these lovely simple pearl earrings and necklace. And now it is time to get to work. So I usually like to have a throw blanket on me, especially in the morning. I got myself another cup of tea, and then I'm just logging in and answering emails and figuring out what I have coming up that day. And at the beginning of my workday, I also like to usually write out on one of my sticky notes any of my meetings for the day, just so I have something that I can just kind of very quickly glance at, especially if I don't want to navigate back to my calendar. I do have 2 external monitors, which I absolutely love, and I usually just have my calendar pulled up on one of them kind of at all times, but every now and then if I'm working on something, or if I'm in a meeting and I'm trying to pull up multiple documents and I have my calendar not visible, it's just nice to kind of have something like this. So today I only had 3 meetings. I had one from 10:30 to 11:30, another one from 12 to 2, and then a shorter one from 3 to 3:30. I am incredibly thankful and very fortunate that I do have a fully remote job. I think it just suits me really well. I really appreciate not having to commute anywhere, and I usually am able to have a healthier breakfast, I can have a healthier lunch, and I just have a lot more time for myself because once I'm done with work, I'm already at home, so I don't need to worry about that. I could understand why remote work might not work for everyone. My husband, for it's like he does not think that he would enjoy a fully remote job. So it's, everyone has their own preferences, but I'm very grateful that I have that opportunity. I am social, I really enjoy my coworkers, but I also just enjoy being in my own space. I did start this job just this last spring. I started back in April, and I've been really enjoying it. I've really had a good time learning the work and getting trained up on things, and my coworkers and my manager are really great, and we are kind of coming into a pretty busy season, so I know that some of the team is kind of happy to have an extra person on board to help with some of that. And I have done an office tour if you would be interested in kind of seeing the rest of my office space. I will go ahead and link that here. And then I am just popping on some lip gloss right before my first meeting. And my 2-hour meeting was thankfully just a work session that I was kind of sitting in as a fly on the wall with my manager, just to kind of see the process of this specific type of work. Thankfully, it was all cameras off, so I was able to get myself some lunch. So today I had some leftover chicken Japanese curry. Usually I don't like to microwave like Tupperware, but this is microwave safe, and I was feeling a little bit lazy. Now, I usually like to drink sparkling water because our water just kind of tastes weird, but I find that if I make it sparkling water, then it doesn't, bother me as much. We do have some flavoring that we can put in. We just don't really use it very much. Give this a good stir out of the microwave. Then I also am going to take some of these grapes. I like to take my grapes off of the vine before I try and eat it because I just want to kind of be able to really easily grab them, and I don't want to have to like fuss with it the entire time I'm eating them. So usually I will just grab a bowl like this and just take them off the vine. And now I've got my lunch, so I brought everything back up to my office so that I could just kind of have a little bit of a working lunch. I eat my curry and then just kind of snack on these grapes throughout the rest of the meeting. Right around lunchtime, I do take Edna on a quick little potty break in our backyard, but on this day it just had to wait until I was done with my meeting, and she was sleeping very heavily, so she did not seem too bothered to have to wait a little bit. But she does usually get very excited about her potty breaks and her walks. It was very, very windy, so she was just kind of standing there enjoying the wind in her fur. Then we come back inside and I give her some pets before I go back up to work for the rest of the afternoon. And usually in the later afternoons, when I'm starting to feel maybe a little bit in a slump, I do like to raise my desk. And then I have this walking pad. That way I can just kind of walk a little bit while I am doing some work. I feel like it just kind of helps me focus, or refocus at least, and usually this is kind of a good time when I'm just answering emails or just kind of following up on anything from the day. Then usually I walk for maybe about an hour, 45 minutes to an hour, kind of depends on what I'm feeling that day, and I will put away my walking pad and lower my desk back down. So I do really appreciate having the walking pad so that I can just make sure that I'm also getting some movement during my day. I don't really like the idea of just kind of sitting at my desk all day. And I was still a little bit snackish, so I grabbed some of this chopped up watermelon from the fridge. And I love watermelon. Watermelon is absolutely one of my favorite summer snacks. Then I just kind of finished up the rest of my workday. But honestly, this is just kind of what most of my work days look like. It's not particularly exciting. I'm usually just kind of sitting at my desk like this. And luckily I had a little bit of a shorter work day, so I was able to get off kind of earlier because I had to work a little bit later the day before to finish up a project. So once I'm done with work, I usually like to take off my jewelry and change into some more comfy clothes. And I had some laundry that I wanted to finish putting away. And usually I separate out my clothes from things that need to be hung, things that get folded into my dresser, and that just makes it a little bit easier. And then because I got off work earlier, I wanted to go do a little bit of purse shopping. So I have been wanting to find kind of a new everyday purse. So I wanted to check out the designer bag section at Ross, and I just wasn't really finding anything that was speaking to me. Then I went to Marshall's, and they also didn't really have any bags that I was interested in, but they had a huge press-on nail section, so I spent a lot of time looking at all of the press-on nails. And when I got back home, I made myself some dinner, and we had some leftover chicken enchilada soup from the night before, and my husband had made these thumbprint cookies with some strawberry rhubarb jam that we found at a farmer's market. So I had those as a little bit of a dessert. And then it was kind of right around Edna's dinner time. She gets her second thyroid pill, usually right around, 5:30 or 6. And then she's usually kind of antsy waiting for her dinner, so she was trying to ask me to go get her some dinner before it was time. But she's very sweet. You're there eating her dinner. She has 2 different puzzle bowls. She's very spoiled, and so she's eating her dinner out of her purple puzzle bowl. While she's finishing up dinner, we are just watching some climbing competitions. We love watching the world climbing comps. They're just a lot of fun. And then a little bit after dinner, my husband and I wanted to go play pickleball. So this is something that we have been doing over the last couple of months. We just started, I think, back in May. And on this day, it was really, really windy. So my husband and I were tossing the ball back and forth, and it's like a wiffle ball. It is impacted by the wind quite a bit. So we were tossing it back and forth just to kind of get a feel for the wind, and it was a very funny day of pickleball. It was just kind of going every which way, and we just had to chase the ball quite a bit more than normal. And then when we got back home, I wanted to take a shower, obviously, after working out. And here's my shower. It doesn't really look like I have much in it, but it's because I like to have everything in these little baskets. And then while my water is heating up, I will quickly take off my makeup with this Neutrogena micellar water. After my shower, I am going to use this hyaluronic acid serum and CeraVe night cream. And then after showers, we just kind of hung out on the couch for the rest of the night and watched some more TV. And then I responded to some comments on my channel and also did some video editing. I usually do my video editing kind of in the afternoons like this. I usually like to try and have it all mostly done in the weekend before the week those videos are going up, just so that I'm not having to worry about it on work days. But I every now and then will still just kind of edit stuff. And so here I was finishing up a video of me painting my nails that went up very early June, so this tells you how long ago I filmed these clips. And while I was doing some editing, my husband was trying to brush out our dog a little bit because she is a husky, so she does need quite regular brushing, and she was being a little bit of a goofball because she's shedding a lot, and usually through the spring and summer she just sheds a ton, and so she was really wanting to get brushed, but then not wanting to get brushed, but then wanting to get brushed. So she couldn't really make up her mind. Look at all of that fur he was getting out from just this one side. It's just crazy. She sheds a lot. We also had enough dishes to fill our dishwasher, so we just wanted to get that started before we took Edna out for her nighttime walk. And this walk we always go together just because it's dark and it's just kind of nice to have that time together. And it's always very excited for her nighttime walk. So here she is kind of running along the park that's really close to our house. And when we get back inside, like I said earlier, my husband usually kind of takes care of her nighttime routine stuff, gets her put in her crate so that I can get myself ready for bed. And before bed, I usually like to do just a few minutes of stretching, especially if we'd worked out that day. I think it is so important to stretch, so I always stretch every day. I feel like I like to do a little bit of stretches right before bed. I think it just kind of helps me get a little bit more comfortable. And then it is time for bed. So these are my sleep headphones. These are what I use to listen to ASMR when I'm going to sleep. They have these little speakers on the side that just rest right against your ears, and I'm a side sleeper, so these are super comfortable, way more comfortable than any like earbuds. And that was my day. I hope that you enjoyed watching this day in my life video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you